one of the real issues in America is an infrastructure issue, and that's our educational infrastructure. What are we going to do about our educational infrastructure? What are we going to do about, although our public schools right now have the highest graduation rate in the history of the United States, the highest literacy rate upon graduation in the history of the United States, the highest going on to college rate in the history of the United States, almost bumped up against by just after World War II with the GI Bill, which kind of distorted things because everybody could go to college for free. But still, you know, they're doing well. And yet, as we talked about last week, you know, with some of the Brown v. Board stuff, I mean, there are still schools that are not doing well, that are failing. And very often there seems to be a component of a race component associated with that. So what do we do about that? Neil McCluskey is on the line with us. He's the Associate Director with the Center for Educational Freedom at the former Charles Koch Institute, now known as the Cato Institute, author of Feds in the Classroom, How Big Government Corrupts, Cripples, and Compromises American Education, the website cato.org. Hey, Neil.
How you doing?
I'm well. You know, I read your piece, and it seems... tell me if I'm wrong, it seems like you don't think that the business of the government, you said, you know, even George Washington wasn't in favor of this. I'm not sure if you know about Thomas Jefferson and the University of Virginia, but, and I'm not sure also it would be all that productive to get into a debate about 1797 or 1806. But it seems to me that you think that we should not have government schools, that the schools are not part of the commons, that we shouldn't be collectively paying for the education of our children. Do I have that right?
Well, I mean, what I wrote, especially regards to Brown v. Board, is that it's very clear that right now we have a system where lots of people have school choice, but they're generally wealthy people who choose a school by being able to buy an expensive house. And what I said is, look, we need to fund education differently. We need to attach money to students and then give their parents real power to go to a school because they have the money attached to them. It's not sent to a specific school, and they can choose a school rather than we say to people, especially low-income people, sorry, if you want to get to a good school, you have to be able to buy a house in a good district. And,
all right, so you're talking about
really
vouchers here. You're talking about vouchers here, right?
Well, it can be vouchers. My preference is that we have donation tax credits where you donate to a scholarship granting organization, and then they give scholarships. And the reason that's preferable is you can choose whether or not you want to donate. You can choose who you want to donate to, and then you're not being compelled necessarily to send a child to a school you may not like.
Long ago and far away, I went to public school, and it was a block away from my house and my elementary school. And it was a great school. I got a great education. There was, you know, this was in the 1950s. There was no debate about, gee, he should have a choice. There was a Catholic school. It was about a quarter mile away. I could have gone to had I been Catholic. But the Catholic school, pretty much the only people who went there were Catholics. It wasn't like people were trying to flee the public schools. What we're seeing now is this explosion of private for-profit schools. And it seems typically that when advocates of, quote, school choice, end quote, like yourself, come on programs like this or others, what you're really talking about is somebody ought to be able to make a buck off education. And that doesn't seem to me like a reasonable thing. It seems to me that education should be part of our public commons. And you're explicitly saying it's not, that our government, you know, it's not, you said education's not mentioned in the Constitution. I mean, which brings up Alexander Hamilton's objection to even having a Bill of Rights attached to the Constitution. He felt that people might think these are the only things that we honor, when in fact, you know, the beginning, the first and the last paragraphs of Article 1, Section 8 are incredibly all-inclusive, as is the preamble. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Why instead of saying our public schools, in some cases, particularly in those neighborhoods where they're paid for with property taxes and there's such poverty that the schools suck because they got no money, why, instead of saying, therefore, we should give people a voucher and let some guy come in and run a private school and make a buck off this, Why don't we simply fund the schools we have appropriately? Why don't we come up with a better funding mechanism for them?
It's interesting that you mentioned the Catholic schools, and particularly when we combine this with the Brown v. Board anniversary, which is that it's very clear that public schools, government schools, didn't serve huge segments of the population. Clearly, they didn't serve, certainly not equally, African Americans for a long time after they were allowed even to use the public schools, and Catholics established a huge Catholic schooling system because the public schools were de facto Protestant institutions.
Well,
so if we really want a system,
if you want to go back to
really want a system
Horace
that
Mann,
is fair to everybody, you connect money to kids and let them choose schools. Not say you really have to use the system that hasn't treated people equally through most of its history.
Well, I will give you that Horace Mann in the 1890s, 1880s pitched public schools to the good people of Massachusetts as a way of breaking the back of the Catholic immigrants in Boston, and that the Catholic schools came about at that point in time as a reaction to that, and this all came out of the Know Nothing Society, and I'm assuming you know this history, but I don't see what that has to do with today. I don't understand why we're not having a conversation about appropriately funding public schools so that there is no need for choice. The so-called choice. I mean, why not have all of our schools in America be as good as all the schools? I mean, I lived in Germany for a year. There's no discussion about school choice. We did our show for 2 weeks from Denmark, and we visited a bunch of their schools. They have among the best educational outcomes in the world. No need for choice. There's not even a discussion about it. Why? Because their public schools work.
Actually,
why don't we simply make all of our public schools work?
There's no discussion about it now in most European countries because most European countries, you have choice. You can choose a religious school, a Protestant school, a Catholic school, a non-religious school, and
But the fact of the matter is their public schools are not failing.
Centuries of conflict over religion. And
Sure.
what I'm saying is not only should we empower people to choose schools because it really gives them power in the system.
No, I disagree. First of all, Neil,
when we
respectfully,
have people, they have
if you're talking about
desires.
giving, if you're talking about taking my tax dollars and giving it to a parent so that they can send their kids to a religious school, I'm totally opposed to that.
Well, I know you're totally opposed to it.
I think it's a violation of the First Amendment. This is why James Madison vetoed this. It was the first veto of his presidency.
You really need to look into this history a little deeper because, for one thing, Horace Mann was in the 1830s. And it's so clear when you look at American schooling history that huge swaths of people simply were unserved or even served adversely by the public school system. If you look abroad, school choice is the norm. Now, often there's national standards. But you choose what sort of school you want to go to.
You're distorting what I'm saying. Yes, people can choose to send their kids to a religious school, but the government is not paying for it.
In Europe, it is.
No,
absolutely is. Look up almost any European country, including places like Sweden, which you think of as sort of the Scandinavian belt buckle of the welfare state, and you'll find that.
Well, they don't have a First Amendment. I don't think we should be. Well, if you want to use Sweden as the example. Anyhow, Neil, we're out of time. I think we've both made our points. Neil McCluskey, hang on just a second, Neil. We're going to get stepped on here.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Neil McCluskey, he is the Associate Director for the Center for Educational Freedom over at the Cato Institute, cato.org, the website. Thanks, Neil.
Thanks.
Good talking.